My name is Iris Calder, 36 years old. Savannah dusk had that honeyed way of making porches look kinder than the people on them. I parked beneath the live oak out front and carried a bakery box up the walk, telling myself a lemon tart could sweeten anything. Inside, the house smelled like roasted chicken and starch. Carol Holt's tablecloths always smelled like effort. Crystal glasses caught the light. The good plates were out. It looked like celebration until you noticed the silence pressed flat as a hand over a mouth. Walter sat at the head in his navy blazer, jaw tight. Mom, Carol, hovered by the sideboard, topping off water like it was courage. Rhonda was already in her place, elbows planted, nails the shade of impatience. Beside her perched Tamara Boyd, all perfume and opinions, whispering into Rhonda's ear and looking at me like she'd found a fly in the soup. Gorgeous, Carol said mechanically as I set down the dessert. Then, as if remembering to be motherly, "You're late." "I'm on time," I said. "You're early." Walter didn't smile. "Sit down, Iris." I slid into the chair opposite Rhonda, let the back legs touch the wall. My heart had been doing a small, high drum since I turned onto their street. I smoothed it with breath and the cool of the water glass. "We need to talk about something important," Rhonda announced. "The way you order a cocktail you can't afford." My event flopped. Tamara leaned forward. "You know how these things go. Venues, vendors, influencers. Costs add up. She's in a bit of a bind." "How much of a bind?" I asked, keeping my voice even. 20, Rhonda said, chin lifting. 100, I said, because jokes have kept me alive. 1,000. Her mouth didn't tremble. 20,000. The fork in my hand hovered over the potatoes, then landed gently on the plate. "That's a lot, Rhonda." "Things happen," Tamara said, tossing her hair. "Some of us take risks. Not everyone's content arranging daisies all day." "Iris runs a business," Carol snapped, like she was defending me and scolding me at once. "But family is family. We help each other." I swallowed. "I've helped. A lot." Rhonda's eyes skated away. "This is different. My career depends on it." Tamara's smile sharpened. "You've got the money. Your shop's always busy. Pay it and we'll all breathe easier." "Tam," Walter warned, but the warning was for show. He turned to me. "You've done well. Your sister needs you. Be useful." The words slid right under my skin. I pictured stems under my thumbs, the way you strip leaves before a bouquet so they don't sour the water. "I've been covering your rent for 5 years," I said quietly. "Sometimes more when taxes went up. I paid the electric, the water, the internet when your card had an issue." I turned to Rhonda. "I paid off your car note, 5,000. You promised to pay me back when events take off, remember?" Her jaw stiffened. "This is 20. I'll pay you back." Tamara laughed once, bright and cutting. "Oh, please. She acts like she's Mother Teresa and we're bleeding her dry. You're her sister," she said to me, voice sugary and mean. "Unless you'd rather watch her fail?" I set both hands on the table to keep them steady. "No," I said. "I'd rather stop pretending love looks like direct deposit." Carol's fork clattered. "Don't be selfish," she said, color rising. "Family sticks together." "When's the last time you stuck to me?" I asked, the question slipping out before I could dress it. "When I opened the shop. When I was here on Sundays fixing your faucet, Dad. When I sent rent and you called it What Daughters Do." Walter's palm cracked the table. The glasses trembled, and the roast chicken shifted under its thyme sprigs. "Enough," he barked. "We don't need a lecture in front of Tamara." I looked at Rhonda. She didn't meet my eyes. Tamara smiled, the kind you practice in bathrooms. "You can afford it," Carol said, softer now, like coaxing me to swallow medicine. "It's just 20. You'll make it back." "I'm not your bank," I said. My voice was calm, which surprised me. Calm like a blade laid flat. "No." Silence pooled, deep and slick. Then Walter pointed at the door. "If you can't act like family, you don't belong here." Somewhere far away, a neighbor's wind chime toyed with the air. I folded my napkin, placed it beside the plate, and stood. The chair legs scraped. It sounded like truth. "You're choosing her debt over my dignity," I said, not as a question. No one answered. Carol stared at the tablecloth pattern like it might shift into something softer. Rhonda's mouth was a line. Tamara's eyes glittered, like she'd been waiting for this ending. I picked up my keys. My hand didn't shake until the hallway. By the time I reached the porch, cool air hit the back of my neck and steadied me. The sky over the live oaks had gone pale pink. The cicadas tuned up for night. I walked to my car with the specific care of someone carrying something fragile and invisible. In the driver's seat, I leaned my forehead against the wheel. My pulse ricocheted, then found a slower rhythm. I thought about the cooler humming at the shop, about the way lilies open if you talk to them. I saw the ledgers in my mind, numbers lined like stems in a vase, a shape revealing itself if you stepped back far enough. 5 years. Thousands. Love measured in transactions because that was the only measurement they respected. The screen of my phone lit the darkening car, a text from a regular about Saturday pickup, a calendar reminder for wholesale delivery at dawn. Beneath those, a blank note I opened and titled without thinking, Timeline. I typed, rent/utilities, 60 months. Rhonda car note, 5K. Then I added dates, amounts, memo lines that read, just this once, and I'll pay you back, promise. My thumbs moved faster as memory sharpened into math. By the time I hit save, something in me clicked into place. Not anger, not yet. Alignment. I started the engine. The house windows glowed behind me like a stage set. Someone forgot to strike. Tamer's laugh drifted out and fizzled in the humidity. I put the car in gear. At the end of the block, I paused at the stop sign. In the rear view, the house was still, a painting. In the windshield, the road ran on. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I turned left toward the shop and the life I paid for myself, and I felt the old script loosen its grip like a thread pulled clean from a seam. Somewhere, a storm was forming. Somewhere, a bouquet of proof was beginning to open. I drove toward morning. Morning came dressed in lavender light and the soft hiss of the flower cooler. The shop smelled like eucalyptus and survival. I unlocked the front door of Calder Blooms, the bell chiming in the quiet like a heartbeat that still worked even when everything else felt bruised. My hands ached from the night before, gripping the steering wheel too long, clenching against words I didn't say. Coffee first, always coffee. While it brewed, I opened my laptop, the blue glow painting my reflection in the window. The cursor blinked in my timeline note from last night, a heartbeat waiting to continue. I started listing everything, year by year. Rent transfers to Walter and Carol, $12,200 monthly, sometimes $1,500. Utilities, $220, combined average. Rhonda's car payoff, $5,000 even, occasional emergency payments labeled as gifts. I scrolled and scrolled until the screen looked like a funeral program for my bank account. The guilt came first, that sticky kind that hides under your ribs. They're your family, it whispered. What if they really needed you? Then another voice followed, quieter but sharper. What if they just needed control? The coffee beeped. I took it black. Sweetness had no place today. I opened the automatic payments tab for their rent. The next withdrawal was set for tomorrow. My finger hovered above cancel, the tiny rectangle that could change everything. They'll notice, a thought murmured. They'll call. They'll cry. They'll say you're cruel. But another thought pushed back. They already did. Click. Payment canceled. A small flash on the screen confirmed it, and something loosened in my chest. Next came the utilities. Click, cancel, click, cancel. Each confirmation ding was like shears snipping through an overgrown vine, freeing whatever had been strangled beneath. When the last one was gone, the silence felt new, not empty, but wide. I leaned back, watching condensation crawl down the coffee mug. 5 years of invisible labor erased in 15 minutes. The doorbell jingled. I startled, half expecting Mom or Rhonda storming in, but it was just Bradley, leaning against the frame, his tie loose, a grin that didn't ask too many questions. Didn't think florists opened this early, he said. Didn't think accountants took lunch at dawn, I replied, managing a smile. He held up a pastry bag. Bribery, cinnamon roll, figured you forgot breakfast again. He placed it on the counter, eyes scanning the piles of invoices and printouts scattered like petals. You doing taxes or preparing for war? Both, I said. He waited, not pushing, just letting silence hold space until I spoke again. I said no last night, I said finally. They asked me to cover Rhonda's $20,000 debt. I refused. They kicked me out. He blinked, jaw tightening. They what? I told him everything. The dinner, the shouting, Tamara's smirk, the way my mother said selfish like it was scripture. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, Bradley exhaled slowly. Good, he said. That startled a laugh out of me. Good? You finally said no. Iris, they've been using you for years. You pay their bills. They repay you with guilt. That's not family. That's dependency. He was right, but the truth still stung. It's hard to stop when it's all you've known. He leaned across the counter, his hand covering mine. Then let them learn something new. Let them learn how it feels when you stop saving them. His thumb brushed my knuckles, grounding me. You're not wrong for protecting your peace. The clock ticked softly between us. For once, the silence didn't hurt. After he left, I turned back to my desk and opened the proof folder. Inside it, I began scanning old receipts, rent transfers, car loan payments, utility bills, every dollar of quiet sacrifice. Each file got a label. Rent 2018, utilities 2019, Rhonda car loan. By noon, I'd built a record that could survive doubt. The phone buzzed. Rhonda. For a long moment, I stared at her name. The last conversation replayed in my head. Her arms folded, her silence when Dad told me to leave. I answered anyway. Rhonda? Her tone was syrupy but cracked underneath. Hey, Iris, how's business? Fine, I said. What do you need? She sighed like she was about to cry, but couldn't quite find the tears. I'm planning a new event. It's huge. It could save my reputation after the last one, but I need a small push to get it off the ground. My stomach turned. How small? 15,000. I nearly laughed. 15,000? It's not like before, she rushed. This one will make money, I promise. You've always helped me. Please, Iris. You know I'll pay you back. I gripped the counter, feeling that old ache, the reflex to rescue. But this time, another reflex was stronger. You sat there while they threw me out, I said quietly. You let Tamara call me selfish. You didn't say a word. I didn't want to make things worse, she said. You didn't want to make them better either. Silence stretched. Then she whispered, You've changed. I had to. I thought family meant something to you, she said, voice trembling. It does, I said. That's why I stopped letting it mean pain. Before she could respond, I ended the call. The phone slipped from my hand, landing on the counter with a soft thud. My pulse raced, but it wasn't panic. It was adrenaline. I looked at the shears lying beside the register, their metal glinting in the light. I picked them up and snipped a wilted lily stem. The sound was clean, final. That evening, the sky turned peach and bruised. I closed the shop, turned the open sign to closed, and leaned against the doorframe, watching the street empty. For the first time in years, no auto payments waited for my approval, no guilt perched on my shoulder, just quiet. But quiet has its own kind of echo, and deep down, I knew. Silence never lasts long in families like mine. Somewhere across town, someone would notice a missed payment, and when they did, the phone would ring. This time I promised myself I'd let it. The phone rang 3 days later. I knew the sound before I saw the screen. Shrill, insistent, familiar in a way that made my shoulders stiffen. I didn't answer. It stopped, then started again and again. On the fourth call, I picked up. Finally, Carol's voice snapped, sharp enough to slice through static. We've been trying to reach you all morning. The rent payment didn't go through. I kept my tone flat. I know. You know? She repeated. Then fix it. The landlord's already called your father. He's furious. I'm sure he is. What's gotten into you, Iris? She demanded. You're acting cruel. Your sister's in trouble, and you're punishing us for it. I took a breath, slow and even. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not paying for everyone else's life anymore. There was a small sound, Carol's gasp, caught halfway between disbelief and offense. We raised you better than this. I almost laughed. You raised me to be convenient. There's a difference. I don't have time for your dramatics, she said briskly. Put the payment back before your father. Before he what? I asked quietly. Kicks me out again? Silence. Then a low, trembling exhale. I don't even recognize you anymore. That's the point, Mom. I hung up before she could find new words to weaponize. The phone buzzed twice more before finally going still. The quiet after that felt sacred. I set it face down on the counter and looked around the shop. The morning light fell in soft columns through the glass, catching on the rows of roses and carnations, making them look like they were waiting for applause. The bell over the door jingled. A woman stepped in, a regular, older, with kind eyes and a church lady purse. Morning, Iris, she said. I saw that post online. I hope it's not true. I blinked. What post? She hesitated, guilt flickering across her face. In the Savannah Circle group, Tamara Boyd's name was on it. Said you refused to help your family after everything they did for you, that you brag about your money while they're struggling. I felt the floor tilt slightly beneath me. She tagged me? She didn't need to. Everyone knew. The woman's smile was pitying as she squeezed my hand. I told them you're a good girl. Don't let small people make you smaller. After she left, I locked the front door and sat behind the counter, opening my phone. The post was there, public, shared 100 times already. Some people forget where they come from once they have success. Sad when money replaces compassion. My heart breaks for families torn apart by greed. The comments were worse. I always knew she was selfish. Poor Rhonda, that sister's a snake. Imagine letting your mom get evicted while you play florist. And there, near the top, one blue check mark of betrayal. Rhonda liked it. My chest tightened until it hurt to breathe. I tried to reply once, typed, "You have no idea what you're talking about," then deleted it. Defending myself in that swamp would only feed them. Still, the damage spread fast. By noon, 2 clients had canceled their weekend orders. One left a message, "We'll come back when things settle." Things weren't settling, they were burning. By evening, I was pacing between flower buckets, the smell of damp stems mixing with panic. How do you fight gossip when it wears your family's face? The bell chimed again. Bradley stepped in, his expression tightening the second he saw mine. What happened? They went public, I said, my voice cracking. Tamar's post, Rhonda's silence, Mom's calls. My business is bleeding because I said no. He crossed the room and wrapped me in his arms. I didn't cry, but something inside me trembled like glass about to give. When he pulled back, his eyes were calm, calculating. Then we make them regret it. How? I whispered. By showing the truth, he said. You've got records, Iris, proof of everything you paid for. You told me you saved every receipt. I did, I said slowly. 5 years' worth. He nodded. Then you don't hide. You show it. Don't let them control the story. For a moment, the idea felt too heavy, too cruel. But then I remembered Walter's finger pointing toward the door, Carol's words selfish, Rhonda's eyes looking anywhere but at me. I walked to the back room and returned with the folder, printed bank statements, rent receipts, transfer screenshots. Bradley flipped through them, whistling low. This isn't help, he said. It's a history lesson in exploitation. The bell above the door jingled again, and for a terrifying second I thought it would be Rhonda. But it was a woman with a press badge clipped to her bag. Phyllis Clean, the freelance journalist who'd once interviewed me about floral sustainability at weddings. She smiled politely. Heard a rumor, Iris. You want to talk about it before the wrong people do? Bradley looked at me. You trust her? I did, or maybe I just wanted to. Come in, I said. Phyllis sat across from me, flipping open a notebook. Start at the beginning. I told her everything, the years of payments, the dinner ambush, the online smear. She didn't interrupt, just scribbled in her neat, looping handwriting. When I finished, she said, Do you have proof? I pushed the folder across the counter. Every dollar. She scanned the top pages, eyebrows lifting. If this is real, you're not the villain. They are. Savannah loves stories about redemption and receipts. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. What would it take to make people see? Timing, she said, and spectacle. Rhonda's got that big community fair next month, right? Yes. Then that's your moment. If they've turned you into the villain in public, you take the truth back in public, loud and clear. Bradley leaned forward. You're suggesting she confront them? Phyllis smiled. I'm suggesting she correct them, on camera. Her pen tapped the counter. I'll handle the publishing. You just stand there and tell your story. Outside, thunder rolled low across the sky, a warning disguised as weather. Iris Calder, always the quiet one, always the fixer, was about to break the family rule. Never air the dirt. I glanced at the lilies in the cooler, clean white, waiting to bloom, and for the first time, I didn't want to arrange them. I wanted to let them grow wild. The morning of the fair arrived with the kind of sky that pretends to be calm right before a storm. I parked 2 blocks away from the Savannah Green and watched from the car for a long minute. Rows of tents lined the walkway, strung with bunting and optimism. Hand-painted banners read, Rhonda Neal Events Presents, Community Fair and Market Day. Families wandered with lemonade cups. Somewhere, a local band tested their sound system, the mic squealing once before settling. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. For years, this was her world. Crowds, applause, borrowed charm. Mine was soil and petals, and small talk with customers who smelled like coffee. But today, those worlds were about to meet. Beside me, Bradley adjusted his cufflinks like he was heading into battle. You're sure about this? I nodded. She went public with her lies. I'm just returning the favor with the truth. He smiled faintly. That's my girl. Phyllis waited near the vendor rows, camera in hand, her notepad tucked under her arm. When she saw me, she gave a small nod. the kind reporters give before something irreversible happens. Remember, she said, you don't need anger. The facts will do the work. I exhaled. Facts and a folder. Then go get your justice, she said, flicking the camera on. We walked through this fair together, the smell of funnel cake and sunscreen coating the air. People turned as we passed. Some smiled politely, others whispered. Word traveled fast in Savannah. I could feel the tension like humidity. At the center of the fairgrounds stood the stage, white linen draped across the backdrop, pastel balloons bobbing in the wind. And there she was. Rhonda, hair glossy, smile sharp. Her voice floated through the speakers as she welcomed guests, thanking sponsors and volunteers. Tamara hovered close by, clipboard in hand, scanning the crowd like a guard dog that smelled smoke. I waited until the speech wound down. When Rhonda announced, if anyone has questions about upcoming events I'd love to share, I raised my hand. Every head turned. Her eyes found me, and in that instant, her practiced confidence faltered. Rhonda, I said, stepping forward. My voice carried farther than I expected, steady and sure. I have a question. The crowd went still. Bradley stood at the edge of the stage, nodding. Phyllis lifted her camera. I climbed the steps slowly, the folder pressed against my chest like scripture. Rhonda's microphone lowered an inch. Iris, she said, her voice forced bright. This isn't really the... It's exactly the time, I cut in. You've told everyone I turned my back on the family, that I'm selfish, that I abandoned you. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I opened the folder and pulled out the first page, a printed statement. This is a rent transfer from my account to our parents' landlord, $200 a month for 5 years. Total, $72,000. Someone near the front whistled low. I flipped to the next. Electric, water, and internet bills. Paid by me. And this, I held up another sheet, is the confirmation that I paid off your car, $5,000. Tamara lunged forward, her voice sharp. This is private business. No, I said, meeting her glare. It became public the moment you made me your villain. Phyllis's camera clicked steadily, each flash a pulse of light. The whispers grew. People started recording on their phones. I turned back to Rhonda. You said I abandoned you, but I didn't. I bankrolled you. I covered every crisis, every emergency, because I believed family meant something. Her face had gone pale beneath the makeup. I never asked you to do all that. Yes, you did, I said quietly. And when I stopped, you called me selfish. I reached into the folder one last time and held up my phone, showing the screen. Here's your message from last year. Thanks for the cash, sis. Don't tell anyone I'm struggling. Remember that? A collective gasp swept the crowd. Someone shouted, You took her money and dragged her online? Rhonda's mouth opened, but nothing came out. I'm not doing this to humiliate you, I said, voice steady. I'm doing it because I let shame keep me quiet for too long. I've spent years carrying people who never once said thank you. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. Another joined, then a few more. Applause spread, uneven but undeniable. Bradley climbed the steps and placed a hand on my back. You're done, he whispered. They heard you. But I wasn't finished. I faced the crowd once more. If you've ever been told family means sacrificing your sanity or your savings, hear me now. It doesn't. Love isn't measured in money, and boundaries aren't betrayal. The applause grew louder. Tamara grabbed Rhonda's arm. We should go. Rhonda didn't move. She just stared at me, eyes glassy, like she'd seen a ghost she used to own. I stepped off the stage, the sound of clapping chasing me down the steps. Phyllis caught up, her face glowing with adrenaline. Got it all, she said, waving the camera, every second. Bradley handed me the folder, now lighter somehow. You just rewrote the ending, he murmured. I smiled faintly. No, I said. I just stopped letting them hold the pen. That night, the footage hit local feeds. Within hours, Savannah was buzzing. Florist exposes family exploitation, but live at fair. Comments poured in, some sympathetic, some stunned. My shop's page filled with messages. You were right to stand up for yourself. Wish I had your courage. Never let them guilt you again. But between the support came something else. Silence from my family. No calls, no messages, not even anger, just nothing. And in that quiet, I felt the strangest thing of all. Peace. The kind that doesn't need applause or revenge or validation. The kind that comes when you finally tell the truth out loud. I closed my laptop and went to water the lilies cooling in the back room. Their scent rose around me, clean and alive, petals opening without permission. Freedom smelled like that. 3 months later, Savannah had already moved on to its next scandal. A city council member's affair, a bakery feud over stolen recipes, but the Calder name still hovered in conversations like smoke that refused to fade. My shop, on the other hand, had never been busier. That morning, sunlight spilled through the front window, catching on ribbons and glass vases. The air smelled like lavender and possibility. Orders lined the counter. Weddings, anniversaries, one retirement bouquet. That made me smile when I read the card. Thank you for knowing your worth. I pinned the note to my corkboard. Kevin, my new assistant, hummed off key as he trimmed tulips. We're out of baby's breath again, he said, brushing a streak of pollen off his apron. In the back, I replied. Third shelf, next to the eucalyptus. He grinned. Got it, boss. I wasn't used to the word boss yet, but it felt good. Earned. A chime broke the calm. The front door opened, and a familiar figure stepped in. Phyllis, hair pinned up, notebook in hand. Well, she said, eyes scanning the bright room. Looks like truth really does sell. I laughed softly. Or people just like flowers more than lies. She placed a folded newspaper on the counter. My name was printed on the front of the Savannah Chronicle's lifestyle section. Blooming back, the florist who turned betrayal into business. You made the headline, she said. How's it feel to be the face of resilience? I thought for a moment. Strange. Peaceful. Like standing on solid ground after years of swimming. Phyllis smiled. Good answer. And for what it's worth, the video from the fair hit 300,000 views. The comments are still coming. Any from them? I asked, even though I already knew. She shook her head. Nothing public. I nodded. That's fine. When she left, I lingered at the counter, tracing my finger over the printed headline. The article's final line read, Sometimes the family you lose clears space for the one you build. The bell chimed again. Bradley walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee and a grin. Guess who got a mention in the Chronicle? I raised an eyebrow. You? Apparently, I'm the supportive partner who reminded her that truth doesn't need permission. He set the coffee down. I sound wise. You are wise, I said. He leaned on the counter. You've done it, Iris. You came out of that fire with something better. Your shop's thriving, you're respected, and they made their choices, I finished. And now they're living with them. He studied me for a second. Do you ever miss them? The question hung in the air. I thought of Walter's booming laugh before it turned sharp, Carol's garden gloves resting on the porch, Rhonda teaching me to braid my hair when we were kids. Sometimes, I admitted, but not enough to go back. Bradley nodded, understanding without judgment. That's fair. As he left to take a call, Kevin peeked from the back room, phone in hand. Iris? He said hesitantly. There's a woman outside asking for you. Customer? He hesitated. I don't think so. Through the glass, I saw her. Rhonda. Her hair was shorter now, her makeup faded, her clothes more practical than polished. She stood near the sidewalk, clutching a paper bag like it might hold her pride. For a moment, everything in me froze. 5 years of resentment and exhaustion caught in a single heartbeat. Kevin looked at me. Want me to tell her you're busy? I shook my head. No, I'll handle it. When I stepped outside, the air was thick with the scent of jasmine and oncoming rain. Rhonda's eyes darted up, nervous. I didn't know if you'd see me, she said. I almost didn't, I admitted. She swallowed, voice trembling. I came to say thank you, and I'm sorry. I didn't speak. She pushed the paper bag into my hands. Inside were old receipts, ones I hadn't seen since before I started keeping digital records. Rent invoices, car payments, electricity bills. My handwriting scrawled across each one. Paid, paid, paid. I found them when I was clearing out Mom and Dad's house, she said. They left town last month. Couldn't keep up with the rent without you. They didn't tell anyone where they were going. Her voice cracked. You were right, Iris. We used you. And when you stopped letting us, we blamed you for the mess we made. Raindrops started to fall, soft and cold. I looked down at the bag, the ink bleeding a little where moisture touched paper. I don't need repayment, I said quietly. I know, she whispered, but I had to face you. Everyone else left. I couldn't keep pretending. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The sound of rain filled the space between us. Are you okay? I finally asked. Her laugh was small, bitter, but real. No, but maybe I will be. I nodded. That's a start. She hesitated, eyes glistening. Do you hate me? No, I said. I just stopped needing your approval. Rhonda's shoulders sagged, relief and grief mixing on her face. That's fair. We stood there as the rain thickened, 2 women who'd finally stopped pretending to be enemies, or family, and had become something stranger and truer. witnesses to what they'd done to each other. When she left, I didn't watch her go. I just turned the paper bag over in my hands, feeling the weight of 5 years' return only to dissolve in the rain. Inside, Kevin was restocking roses. Bradley leaned against the counter, smiling softly when he saw me. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, hanging my soaked cardigan by the door. "Everything's finally okay." I walked to the cooler, pulled out a fresh lily, and set it in a vase near the window. A new bloom in a place that used to be full of thorns. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was rebuilding from ashes. I felt like I'd planted something that could last. And this time it was mine.